Awesome.
The button has been pushed. Hello and welcome. How you guys
Hey.
doing? Can you believe it? Look who we got with us. 6-time Fiddle Player of the Year, Grammy Award-winning artist, amazing overall human being, Mr. Jason Carter.
Welcome to the pod, my dude.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks, guys.
Man, you have been a busy guy in the last year and a half, 2 years, have you not?
I have been, yeah, sure enough.
That's pretty fun. So obviously you have some news. You had recently transitioned away from something that you've been doing forever, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So for those people that don't know, Jason was the fiddle player for the McCoury Band as well as the Travelin McCourys. And you did that for what? I feel like Billy Strings on stage now. 30 some odd years?
33 years. And I have to tell you, it's really weird to me to hear that I was the fiddle player for the band.
Well, I mean, that's
been my life,
Exactly.
So,
it's over half your life,
I mean,
right?
more or less right out of high school, right?
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
I was 19 when I started.
Wow, that's wild.
So I had just turned, my birthday is February 1st, and I started around February 20th. And ironically, I think my last day that I played with the guys, it was a Travelin McCourys gig on my birthday in Vermont, February 1st. Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's
that
great. Years?
That would have been the same weekend. I was at a festival in Nashville, and it was my birthday. It's always on my birthday weekend whenever I met Dell and asked him for the job.
Oh, so that is really when it but let's talk about this, because you manifested this, right? And your dad had kind of already talked through it, because you picked up the guitar as a teenager, correct?
Well,
and then
my dad started me off when I was like 8 years old playing guitar.
Oh, wow.
And I got into Tony Rice, and we would play around the house. And
because where was home for you, Jason? Where did you grow up?
Eastern Kentucky, Lloyd, Kentucky.
That's
which
the
is
bluegrass state.
It's close to Ashland.
Okay.
It's the biggest city around there.
That's my neck of the woods. I'm from Huntington, West Virginia originally. So I spent
all right.
Yeah, hell yeah. I spent a lot of time in that area.
I went to Greenup County High School, so you probably...
Awesome.
Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah. What year did you graduate?
I graduated from Huntington in 2003. So...
All right.
A little bit after you probably, but yeah.
91, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Way cool.
But bluegrass is in your guys' blood, right? Because of where you were born and raised. And so you picked up, was your father or mother, were they musicians themselves?
My dad played. Yeah. And my brother, he's like a jazz guy. He's a saxophone player. And
oh, wow.
He plays everything. He's the talented one.
So your family dinners aren't fun at all. So then you're playing the guitar from 8, and then what I've read was you wanted to join Dell, right? So did you see him live, or what was it that sparked that fire?
And I was maybe it was around 15 years old, maybe. We had a local jam up there we'd go to every week, and this guy that ran the jam session at his house or at his shop, he had all these videotapes of bluegrass, different shows that were on, and I would borrow those and watch them. And this one come on, and it was Del McCoury Band on a show called Fire on the Mountain, and I heard Del on there, and man, it kind of changed everything for me. And I think that everything, I was a big Tony Rice fan, so that's kind of what I tried to play on the guitar. But I think it was still, when I heard Del, it was the sound of that rhythm. To me, everything has always revolved around, Del's rhythm playing on his guitar and his singing, and that's kind of what drew me there. So I started practicing and playing along with that videotape, and then I got a couple records, and I would play guitar along with his records, And so I would always say, people would ask you what you're going to do when you grow up, and I would say, I'm going to play with the Del McCoury Band.
Man,
so
how
shoot for the stars, bud. I love it.
Yeah, man. It's like, I didn't know.
Yeah, and then he lands there at 9.
Why not?
You land there at 19. So, but you didn't land there as a Tony Rice inspired guitar player. So when had you been playing the fiddle at
No,
that time? Or you
around that time is whenever I talked about this for a while. I would keep saying this because I would always say I was going to play music or whatever. But I heard this, and it's like, yeah, that's what I want to do. So my dad, he said one day, he said, now, he said, I think Dell's sons play banjo and mandolin in the band, and he plays guitar, so he's not going to hire anybody on guitar. He said, so if you want that job, you're going to have to learn how to play bass or fiddle. And we had a fiddle at home, so I picked up the fiddle, which I did play a little bit of mandolin too, because my dad played that. And
okay?
mandolin and the fiddle note the same on the left hand,
Okay.
except you don't have any frets on the fiddle.
Yep.
So anyway,
Did not know that.
my way around it a little bit, and I started trying to learn. And my dad showed me some things, and but then I tried to learn straight from like Dell's records. That's
So you taught yourself off of their music.
well, yeah, kind of, yeah.
That's crazy.
I had help. My dad started me off on the fiddle as well. He could play some fiddle, like a couple tunes, and then I would just play along with the records. Try to make it sound like what they did, like his fiddle players did.
So did you get any training or coaching in between the time when you picked that up, or 15 or 16 to
There would have been probably some with like local players, but there was, I say, local players around home.
whatever that pick was, right?
They were professional players too. Like there was a guy, Gerald Evans, who played with the Goins brothers, and Paul Mullins in traditional grass, and Dave Evans. He worked with all those guys. But anyway,
and didn't you play with the Goins brothers for a little bit before you joined Dell?
Right out of high school. So it would have been, I was 18 from June to February, and then February I got the job with Dell.
So how crazy was that? Were you just at a pick and they're like, "Hey, let's get you on here"?
We were in Nashville, and I'll tell you how it started. We were in Nashville, and I was with the Goins brothers, and I had seen Dell and his band at a couple festivals, random festivals. I don't know if it was probably when I was with the Goins brothers, or maybe even before that. But his fiddle player, Tad Marks, I kind of got to know him a little bit, but he knew that I wanted his job, and
I'm coming for you.
He's
Like, this damn kid keeps saying that he's going to be in the Del McCoury band.
Yeah. Well, he knew that I was a big fan, and he knew it. He knew that I wanted that job,
Was he still cordial, or did he build up a wall? Really?
We were good friends, but I wasn't like trying to steal his job or anything, but he knew that.
But you were, Jason. Don't lie. You wanted that job. He didn't have plans on leaving, right?
Well, you know what he did whenever I met him, I saw him in Nashville. He
saw you play, and then he was like, "Yeah, okay, this kid's coming for my job."
That's exactly what happened.
I'll just pack up and go.
Yeah, he's like, "All right, come on, young buck, let's get it."
He came up to me or I came up to him. I don't know, however it happened. We were at the same show, and it was a bluegrass convention in Nashville. And he told me, he said, "Hey, or the McCourys." He said, "The McCourys are moving to Nashville, and I'm not going to be making the move. I'm not going with them." And he said, "So I'm going to be leaving the band." He said, "I know you want this job." And he said, if you want it, you should go talk to Dell." And I was like, "Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for this." And I went and made a
you on cloud nine at that point, just like an out of body experience as he's saying these things to you?
Yeah, I was like excited. I was like, this is my end, And I found Dell, and I was like, "Man, I would love to play in your band." Tad told me he's leaving your band, and his name was Tad Marks, and that's the fiddle that I play now. I got it from Tad.
Wow! So. Not only did you take his job, you took his fiddle too.
Right.
Ruthless. I love it.
Well, thank you, Tad. As a bluegrass fan, we're all very appreciative of those decisions that he made.
And man,
what was that conversation like with Dell?
Because he was great.
Because you didn't want it to sound too different, right? People had kind of established that, but then obviously you got into your own thing. But okay, as a 19-year-old man, we've had the blessings of like talking to Wyatt Ellis, and he had a fun story when he had met Peter Rowan during Peter's induction show, and he's like, "I hope you got pants, boy." Like, how was it for you as a 19-year-old young man to like now talk to the person that's going to make the
Man,
decision on what you've wanted, right?
man, Dale's so down to earth. He was very, very easy to talk to. I kind of put him on a pedestal, but because he still is a star to me. I mean, if there's
Hell yeah.
a star in my mind, it's Dale McCoury. But I just gave him my phone number, and a couple of weeks later, he called the house, and I answered the phone. I don't even think at that time we had caller ID or anything like that, but
Of course not.
I answered the phone, and I heard that voice on the other end. Man, it was crazy. I was like, whoa. And my mom and dad said they knew exactly what was going on because I kept saying, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, sir.
How amazing, though.
Yeah. So anyway, he told me, he said, we're going to be playing in Nashville. He said, we're doing Nashville, West Memphis, Arkansas, and Garland, Texas. And he said, if you want to try out, he said, you're the first one to ask for the job. So you're the first one that gets to try out if you want to. It's like, yeah, man. So
how many shows was it?
3 days, 3 shows.
3 days. And then did you travel with them, obviously?
I did, yeah. I drove to Nashville. Actually, I think my dad drove me down there.
How beautiful. Dad's dropping his son off to go.
And then I we got to Dale's house and he was washing the bus.
He was washing it himself?
He was washing it, yeah. So I jumped in and helped him out a little bit, tried to anyway. And
you immediately jumped up and were like, yes, sir, what do you need?
This is a funny one to me. This is how I put, I was a kid, so I didn't know anything. But I held him so high, he was just like, I put him on a pedestal, And he told me, he said, well, we got done washing the bus, and he said, I've got to go pay the water bill. And he said, whenever I come back, the boys ought to be here. And he said, we'll practice some for tonight's show. And the only thing I could think of was, what kind of world do we live in that Dale McCoury has to go pay a water bill? I thought, well, surely they should give him, he wouldn't have to pay bills. They just give it to him.
Just keep this man hydrated. Yeah, absolutely.
Then, You're going to see the address and the name, and they're like, yeah, no, that's good.
Of course, yeah. We don't want your money, Mr. McCoury.
Did they send you any set lists or any songs that you wanted to learn before? Obviously, from knowing their album.
No, I don't. I don't think so. Unless Ronnie may have sent me a live show, but I can't remember. I think I didn't get that till I got down there.
Mm-hmm.
At the rehearsal, I think he might have gave me something to listen to, a live tape, and man, it was incredible. I loved that live tape. But anyway.
Well, because that wasn't available a lot, right? Back in the day with tape trading, and especially in the bluegrass scene. Like, yeah, sure, you had like some of the Grateful Dead doing it, but it was still early on.
Luckily, man, that's all I knew on the fiddle. Really, I knew Dale stuff, and he told me, we rehearsed a little while, and he said, "Man, it's really good that you come here and you already knew my stuff." It's like
he had no idea.
I knew the breaks. I knew how to play the songs to the best of my ability at that time, so I could get by. I knew what where the breaks were, when the solos come, and what ones I kicked off, and I was And he said, it's good that you did that, and you knew that before you come here. And I thought, who in the world would come to audition for Dale McCoury and not know his music?
Was there a solo or moment in those 3 days where you're like, or you looked over and Dale gives you a little smirk or a smile, or did you know it?
Man, I did not know it, but he was smiling the whole time. I think,
awesome.
He's just a jolly guy. He's always, you see him, what you see, how he is on stage is like, that's how he is all the time.
Well, that's what's crazy is like,
if you go to his house and he's cutting the grass, he's smiling.
Well, and that's what's crazy is you talk about like putting him on a pedestal, and we do this with all of our musicians, right? And it's insane because even like these people are in a new stratosphere, like Billy Strings, right? And like he could not be more down to earth and genuine, and just want to be a real person, right? So like,
yeah,
how cool is that to like know that that's a thing, and everybody like thinks it, right? And we like meet these people, and we're like, what do I say? But then realistically, we've been lucky enough, Shay and I, that we've been talking to all y'all, and you guys you're normal people, right? For the most part, you guys are all just normal people that just connect like we would with anyone else, and it's beautiful to see that side. So then your journey starts. When did you get to find out that you had made it? Did they audition a couple more fiddle players?
No, man, no. They we got back to Nashville, and they all went into Ronnie's house and kind of left me in the bus. I kind of figured they were talking if they're going to hire me or what. And then they come out, and that's when I found out that Ronnie was a little bit of a prankster, a little bit of a jokester, but he come out and he kind of said, Jace, we're trying people out, and kind of was ho-hum about everything, And I thought, man, I didn't get it. I didn't do good enough, And he said, well, if you want it, the job's yours, And I was floored, I was literally floored.
The old okey doke. You're like mentally preparing yourself, like, damn it.
Oh yeah. I thought it was done. I thought there's no chance. But I thought, well, I kind of thought the whole time, they'll get somebody that's a little more seasoned, a pro or something, that they'll get, But they hired me,
33 years later. What was that journey like? Like, so
it was incredible.
I can imagine, right? Like you guys have done so much. You have traveled so many miles, seen every historic venue you've played with, every bluegrass musician known to earth. And meanwhile, you're lighting the world on fire with that fiddle.
Man, I was just trying to hang on with those guys, They're the best pickers in the world.
Well, you're there too, brother. And it's great that you're so humble, but you literally are one of the best fiddle players on this planet right now.
Well, thanks, man. Thank you.
I'll never forget the first time I saw you play. I was it was Winter Wondergrass up in Steamboat. I think it was 2020.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you guys did. I think it was a late night Sunday set at the Steamboat Grand, and
right.
I'll never forget that because I had never seen you perform before. I'd heard you play music and heard your music for years, but we go to this. My buddy is like, hey, you've got these guys are playing the Steamboat Grand. Get a late night ticket. It's gonna sell out. These guys are incredible. And I was like, okay. And it's like, I don't know, it's like midnight or something, and we're all exhausted from 3 days of this.
Yeah,
and
right.
You guys come out on stage, and I'll just and I've always had a soft spot for fiddle, and and I'll never forget. Everybody was so tired and so just not over it, but just like really trying to push over the finish line after 3 days of dancing and drinking and whatever, getting hooting and hollering. And and it was and then you guys came out and I had this like burned in my memory watching you play and just watching the strings on the bow just start popping off as you're just going through the damn thing. It was so much fun because I think you would have been stage left, I think, and I'm on the right side, and I was up there on the rail, and I was just like, oh, I have a new fiddle player and a group to be obsessed with, and you guys just managed to bring up the whole energy level in that room, even though everybody was running on fumes, and that's like when I was, talking about putting people on a pedestal. Cody reached out and he's like, hey, Jason says he wants to come on the show, and it takes all my self-control not just to be like, and freak out about it because it's just so awesome. So that was absolutely incredible,
man.
Can't wait to see where you go from here.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But that's what's crazy is like you've had this 33-year journey, right? And you picked up all the pieces, and you had so many experiences, and then you're picking it up. Like you obviously you have Grammys. You were doing late night shows. You were doing like everything every musician had ever dreamed about. But you literally dreamed about this as a teenager, and then you made it happen. So how was it? And like for a bluegrass musician to be on these late night shows or to like get some of this spotlight with Del that, I mean, let's be honest, this genre doesn't always get, right? So how was that for you?
Man, it's really an amazing ride, an amazing journey that I was a part of with those guys. The beginning, like in '92, and when Del first moved to town, he wasn't as popular as what it became.
He is now. Yep.
But his move to Nashville, everything it all happened. It seemed like a lot of things happened for him at that time. He come here and there was TV. There was like national TV, TNN, the Nashville network. And there was all these shows that were on. And by being here, if somebody would cancel or something, we were in town. Sometimes somebody canceled, they couldn't make one of these TV shows. We might get a last minute call.
Just like we were talking about with our podcast interviews with our musicians, be like, hey, I need you here in 3 hours. And you guys were like, let's get it done.
So there would be stuff like that, and then you're on national TV. You get to play all these, that kind of stuff. That helped out, but just some of those shows and things that we did back there before everything took off was really just incredible. I mean, Dell's still incredible. I mean, he's 86 years old, and the last shows I played with him, he was at the top of his game.
It's crazy to me.
To think about him at 50, at my age, 52, 53 years old, he was really killing it back then. I don't know. We were recording a lot, and the band was just on. It had a lot of. There was a fire, man. There was a fire in all of us back in those days, and it was just a real cool thing, man. A real cool thing happening, and then we being in Nashville, being in the heart of everything here, was a huge help. Then I remember we played the Ryman, the bluegrass series at the Ryman one year.
Mother Church.
It was 98, 90, or 99, something like that. And Steve Earle was there. And he told us, he was like, I want to do a record with you guys. Dell had already recorded one of his tunes called Call Me If You Need a Fool on the record that came out before the one that I did, or one that came out before I joined the band. But anyway, so Steve came, he told us this, and I thought, man, that'll be pretty cool, man. We'll get to record with this guy. And wonder what that'll be like, and he said, Steve said something. I'd never been around a real songwriter, but he was like, I'll write the record and then we'll record it. And I thought, you'll write the record.
Like he had nothing prepared. He was just, he's just ready to get started now.
He made a comment, like he said, well, he called us up or come to see us again, like a couple weeks later, and he's like, hey, I've got half the record wrote. Let's and then I'll write the second half of the record, and we'll rehearse again in about a month. And I thought,
that's insane.
It's incredible. And we got there, and I thought, well, how good can these songs be? He just threw them together or whatever. They were incredible. I mean, all these songs are hits. They sound like classics, man. And I was like,
he did it in a couple of weeks.
I learned a lot right there.
So had you done your solo album by that time, or did that?
Man, I did do a fiddle record, one called On the Move at that time.
Because that was right around that time, right?
It was around 98, 96. I think.
And that was your first solo album, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
that's crazy. So then,
it was.
How was that? Because obviously, like, you taught yourself on Dell's albums. You almost immediately got into Dell's band. But as a musician, I mean, there's always this battle to have your own sound and do your own stuff too. So how was that?
Man, doing my first record, it was way cool because I got a call from Ken Irwin, who run Rounder Records, and he asked me if I wanted to do a fiddle record. And I was blown away. I was like, man, Tony Rice records for Rounder Records, and they're asking me to do a record? Of course. Yeah, put me in, coach.
Mr. Humble over here. Have you never heard a live show of yourself, Jason? Because Jesus, that's what we're all hearing, right? And that's why these people want to reach out and do that. So
that's what it felt like, I mean, so I don't know. I started thinking about what songs I could do and reaching out to different people. And at that time, I was hanging out with this guy, David Greer, who's a great guitar player in Nashville. And
would he be in any bands that we would know? Or did he play solo?
Mostly
more
solo.
Just like a Nashville scene guy?
Yeah, kind
of. Which
on the bluegrass scene. But he wrote a bunch of songs, and half of that record is David Greer songs.
Oh, wow.
David's instrumentals that he wrote, and I recorded them. You know, there's probably, if he didn't write them, he helped me pick out the songs, you know, at that time.
That's awesome.
But it was kind of just like an instrumental record, fiddle tunes and that kind of stuff. I think I sung 2 songs on there.
Yeah, but I mean, in your most recent solo album before this newest one that's coming out, we definitely got to hear some of your chops, and that was one of the things, like seeing you at Telluride, being like, "Damn, this guy's on fire!" But then you have like a voice of an angel, like, and it's like, okay, I just want Jason to like let Jason sing, like I just want him to scream it from the rooftops, and so like, did you always know that you had that in the bag? Did you feel like you wanted to use it more?
You know, when I was younger, when I was a teenager, I played in a band. Me and my dad had a band around home, and I sang and played guitar. So I did that. But there was, you know, when I got with Dell, he was the singer, you know. Yep. So I just kind of focused on playing the fiddle, you know, backing up the singer and learning that, you know. I was in this great band, and it's like I wasn't going to concentrate on singing or anything like that. I had to learn how to play fiddle. Yeah. I got put in the best band that a bluegrass fiddle player could get put in, and I had to concentrate on trying to learn how to play bluegrass fiddle. You know, so I didn't sing. I got roped into singing bass only because I think Rob really didn't sing anything, you know, so I was the only guy. I could carry a tune a little bit, and I could somewhat hit the notes, the low notes.
Yeah, getting deep down in there.
Yeah. And then after Mike Bubb left the band, I started singing the baritone part in the trios. So Mike done it all the years, however many years he was in the band, 15, 14, something like that, 14 years or something. And then after that, I sung the baritone part with the band. Yeah. And Dale would sometimes he would get us to sing a tune on this show. Most of the time I would just play a fiddle tune, you know, but he featured everybody in the band, every show.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Even if it was a short show, you know, I mean, we would go do something and, you know, not have a long show, and I would say, "Man, I don't need to do a fiddle tune." "Oh yeah, we got to do that."
That's super cool.
They don't want to hear me, Dale. They want to hear you. You know, no, we got to play one. You got to play him one. You know, and he was adamant about making sure he featured every one of us on every show.
That's amazing. And is there a battle with, because like, I mean, even with bands like, going back to like Billy Strings, right? There's the name, right? And the namesake of the band, but every musician in that band, just with Dell as the same, you guys are all such talented artists, right? And so, although, yes, we're coming to see like the quote namesake, we also love every part of that band, right? And like we live for those solos, those fiddle solos, or more, or chase that, or that mandolin rip, or that banjo line, or even those hard bass licks, right? And is it hard to like say like, hey, no, they came to see you, but that may not be true. Maybe it's not as like prevalent of us being like, hell yeah, let Jason sing, right? But it's you definitely were like a huge and integral part of that growth.
Well, you know, Dell would always give us credit, you know, at least, you know, if I would compliment him after a show or something, he would always say something like, "Well, it takes us all. It takes us all to do that," you know, and he said and you did good on this, and you did great here, you know, and he would always give you credit, you know. But
that's amazing.
You know, I think part of, besides Dale just being a natural superstar, I think it was a perfect storm too. I mean, he was like the legend, and he had a young band, and it was his kids, you know, but his kids just happened to be as good as you could, as the best in the world.
It wasn't just nepotism that got them there.
Yeah, there's no better bluegrass banjo player than Rob McCoury. I mean, hands down. I mean, that guy, what he does, he can't be beat. And Ronnie is possibly yeah, he's my favorite bluegrass mandolin player as well. They're the best. I mean, they're the best.
I'm going to have a lot of people that are going to be upset with me if I don't bring this up, because you brought about Rob. Can you talk about the time that you guys were playing with Phish? and they had you on stage, and didn't you have to battle Rob on the banjo with a fiddle? Is that how that went down?
I'll tell you about that. First, I just wanted to say that, you know, with our band, we all had like a common goal, or we all had the same sight, and it was the Del McCoury Band.
Together.
We were backing up Del. You know, we were working for his sound. We were working for him, and we were all on the same page, you know. So anyway, I think
that's why you guys were able to do it for so long, right? Is because
I think so. Yeah, right, man.
You had this unified vision. Everybody understood their roles, and obviously he was still so complimentary to what y'all were doing. But you guys had all bought in.
Yeah, right.
That's pretty cool.
Phish,
so sorry, going back to Phish, did Trey break a string or something?
Somebody broke a string. I don't remember who it was. And we're playing, this is literally, I don't know if I've ever played in front of a crowd like this. I heard there was like 80.
Because it was what, Oswego?
80-some thousand people or something. I don't know.
That's insane.
But I remember standing on that stage, and as far as you could see in front of you, there was people all the way out. There's like a runway for an airport, I think, if I'm thinking right. Anyway, this thing, I mean, there was people.
That sounds terrifying to me.
It seemed like everybody, you know how you go to a festival, there'll be people hanging out in the campground, but it seemed like everybody was in front of that stage. I couldn't imagine how there could be anybody else, anywhere else. But they were there, and I thought, you know, we're this bluegrass band. I don't even think we had pickups on our instruments. We played on microphones.
Oh, wow. You were playing acoustic on a can?
I think so, man.
In front of an 80,000. That's insane.
Amazing.
Everyone's
I could be wrong about that. I could be wrong about that. But that was one of the first things we did.
We're going to run with it. We're going to let it be the lore and the myth that y'all played on a can.
I think we were. I think it was. There's probably photos or something. You could probably
I guarantee there's Phish kids that'll come after us in the comments.
Ganged around a microphone. But somebody broke a string, and I was a little nervous about it. But well, at first I was nervous, and I thought, how will these people like us? They're here to see Phish, you know, and how they going to like us? I think we all kind of wondered that. And when we went out on stage, man, that crowd, they cheered us on like it was crazy. They were there. It just made you feel so comfortable.
It felt like they were there for you, right?
They did. Yeah, it's what you felt like, you know, and it felt like all of them. And he broke a string, and I thought, well, who knows what'll happen now? And he looks at me and Robbie says, do one of those fiddle and banjo duet things you guys do. And I was like, here? Now? Really?
Like, and go.
Yeah, man. So we played some tune. I don't even know what it was. Standard fiddle tune. And I thought they'll be throwing bottles and stuff at us.
Glow sticks are going to be coming on stage.
But man, that we started playing, and I looked down, and they were dancing down there. They were dancing to me and Rob playing fiddle and banjo tune like they was to the whole band. I was just blown away. I couldn't believe it.
That's got to be really special.
After we did that show, for years, people would come up to us. We used to go out, like after every show, we'd go to the CD table or record table, sign autographs. For years after that, people would come up at every show. I mean, literally every show. And they were like, we saw you at Oswego. And this could be in Tennessee. It could be Florida, Colorado, California. Didn't matter. There was somebody at every show. That was one of the biggest shots in the arm that that band ever got.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
And then,
really
obviously that's something that you will always remember. Is there something that maybe we wouldn't know about that was like a special moment for you while you had been on tour? Or is there a town or venue outside of like Nashville and these historic ones, right? Because like obviously you're spoiled because you get to play the Grand Ole Opry and the Ryman.
Man, I don't know. I'm sure there was, but I don't know what it would be, man. All of them were special. Yeah, I don't know. I think the ones that would stand out would be some that we like where we could really hear good on stage, and it felt like the band was really playing good together. I remember some of those. You know,
that's awesome.
That we played Strawberry Fest in California one time, and before we went on, somebody had said something about like Sam Bush might have had the record for the longest show, and he played whatever it was, 2 hours or whatever, and we got up on stage and we started playing. We closed the show out. Mm-hmm. And Dell started doing a request, and we played we beat the record. And I don't know if we were trying to, but Dell just kept going. And
you're just feeling it.
Yeah, I think he was. I don't think he was even thinking about what they talked about with Sam playing that long. But when we come off, we had beat whatever the 2 hours or 2 hours and 15 minutes or 2.5 hours or what. But I remember that it really sounded good on stage on that one, and it seemed like we had a good show, and the crowd hung in there with us till the end, and they were going crazy when we got done.
That's awesome.
Another one that I'll never forget is Bonnaroo. The first time we played Bonnaroo, it's another
sea of people.
Well, actually, we played in a
stage?
Tent.
Yep,
in a
the tent stage. Yep.
Yeah, and at this time when we went there, we weren't advertised. We got put on the show late.
Okay.
So we weren't on the bill or anything, but we went there to play this show, had no clue what was going to happen. And at that time, we were literally playing around one microphone. We had went straight down to like the old time way and just playing around one single mic. No monitors, not plugged in. And we got there and I stepped inside of this tent, and it was packed, thousands of people inside this big old tent there. And I thought, man, this is going to be something, and I couldn't believe how many people were there. Especially,
then you blew the top off that tent, didn't you?
They were telling us, it's just by word of mouth that people's going to know you're here. And man, there was definitely,
spread like wildfire.
It was a scene, man. It was a scene.
That's awesome.
And when Dell walked in the back of that tent, that crowd saw him and they went crazy. I mean, they started cheering, and we hadn't even made it to the stage yet. They started hollering, and we got up on stage, and the crowd was so loud that I couldn't hear my fiddle, and it's up by my head, and you put your ear down on it, and the crowd was so loud I could barely hear my fiddle. You couldn't really tell. You couldn't really hear the band, and you're gathered around one microphone, and you're standing as close as you can to each other. You couldn't really hear anything. It was
so then you guys just had to go off
on autopilot.
Yeah, nonverbal cues and just muscle memory from doing it for so long together.
Right. And watching Dell's hands. Just trying to anything you can do to try to stay in time. But it was. That was pretty unbelievable. That was an unbelievable moment, So
and like trying to see the difference between like these jam scenes like Bonnaroo or like Phish, and then like these traditional bluegrass like a romp or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? How did that differ from like the scene, the energy, the people? How did that feel for you as a musician? Because I know for us, like we go and we see some of these more jammy scenes, but then we can go like traditional bluegrass, and like we go to Telluride every year.
I haven't really thought much of that, but I guess I don't know the jammier scenes. A lot of the crowds there to dance. They want a boogie, man. They're
ready to get rowdy.
Stage, ride the rail, and that's pretty exciting for us. Where you're used to playing a festival where everybody's just sitting out in lawn chairs.
Yes. And so you guys feed off that energy.
Yeah, right. I remember we played some of these festivals like in Arkansas and Missouri, and there would be like these old men just sitting out there, and they would have a pile of shavings in front of them. Hi, man, and they would just sit out there and whittle a stick down while we were watching us play. That's all. What they just sitting out there, probably chewing tobacco and whittling.
Yeah, you can't get more traditional than that. A little white lightning in a mason jar. Like here we
probably.
Go. Like
yeah.
Here it comes.
But it's hidden because there's no alcohol allowed at the festival.
Of course not.
Yeah,
I'm sure they were all stone cold sober.
I'm sure it was around.
So how hard was it for you to like make that decision to say, hey, and when did the thought process start to go of like, I'm thinking about going out and spreading my wings? Because when was this second solo album? That wasn't until like 2020.
2022, 23.
22 or 23, yeah, because it was just recently.
Ago.
Yeah, it was just recently.
You know, I did that record, and it did pretty good for me. You know, they played it a lot on the radio, and it brought a lot of attention to me. I feel that way anyway. And I wanted to go out and do some shows and kind of support my record, you know. So I tried to do that a little bit, and it was really hard to, you know, I played in two very successful bands.
Yeah.
You know, the Del McCoury Band and the Travelin McCourys. And it was really hard to get my schedule nailed down between, you know, by the time they got both of those bands booked and the schedule got to me, it was hard to book, for me to book shows far enough in advance that they could be very successful.
Otherwise, you'd only have little holes to fill every now and then.
Yeah. So I started doing that, and some of the shows went pretty good. And man, I just really, really enjoyed doing that. And I was kind of like a throw together band every time.
Mm-hmm.
Still don't have a band. I still don't have my own band yet, but I've got people to cover for my shows, and they're great musicians. But
you haven't found what you're putting together.
I haven't found the exact band yet, you know, because a lot of the people that I'm using, they might play with other people, or some people they might play with all just freelance, you know.
For sure.
Might not be looking for a steady gig or.
Yeah, our interview last week was actually with Chris Henry. So I know that he just played mandolin with you down in some of those shows in Florida, right?
Right. Yeah. Chris is great, man. He's a super close friend of mine, and he's on some of these shows too. He's done a lot of shows with me.
Yeah, and he's a flamethrower too, man. And he's a great human being.
Absolutely.
He is a pleasure to chat with.
Yeah, man, and a pleasure to sing and play with as well.
Oh God, yes, no. You guys did I think it was, I don't know if it was from his or Michael Cleveland's Facebook, but you guys did a live video of y'all picking in a living room for about an hour. Yeah, recently.
That was at my house. Yeah.
That was at your house?
Yeah.
I have literally watched that probably 10 times because it is so good. And it's cool because you just see like y'all are just vibing, getting to know, and just picking and playing. And it's funny because like I can imagine like the picks that happen in Shay's backyard when people come over when he's having parties, and just like the way that music should be, right? And so like you saw that with your solo album, and you start seeing some of this little stuff with some of these onesie twosie shows, but now you're ready to like because this is a huge decision, right? For us, like we heard about this and all of us were going like, wait, what?
This guy crazy?
No, he's not crazy. I loved it because I'm like, all right, let my baby bird sing. Like here it comes, right? But for you, like, so was it that album in 2023, and then it kind of took you a little bit to start gaining that momentum, and then finally being like, all right, here's what I'm gonna do?
Right. You know, it kind of got to the point with me where I knew if I was going to do this, I kind of had to do it. You know, I had to jump in. You know, I had to jump off the cliff and make it. If I want it to be successful, I've got to be all in. You know, I can't be doing it part time, and that's kind of what I was doing. You know, I'm
dipping your toe in the water.
Del McCoury Band and Travelin McCourys are my first priority, and I don't know, man. I just wanted to be. I really enjoy doing this, doing my own music. I like the thoughts of being able to control my own schedule a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've never really had that. You know, out of all these years, you know, I've always went with whatever schedule the band was on, and my life revolved around that. Yeah, I just wanted to be all in for myself, you know. And I did that record. I got this record coming out soon with Michael Cleveland, and I'm ready to record another solo record. You know,
that's awesome.
And I'm trying to write songs right now. Honestly, I think I have probably 2 more records
inside you already
right now.
Wow.
You know, and that's not counting the songs I've been trying to write. So I have a lot of stuff that I want to do, and I don't think I could do that if I was in if I stayed in the Del McCoury band, you know, or if
And
I
now
stayed
you're giving
in
your
Travelin
time.
McCourys, I just don't think it's possible to do that.
Now you're giving yourself time to release all that, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So that's got to feel pretty cool. And it's obviously a whole different process, right? Because now
Yeah, man.
this is your sole focus. Because I know we talked about, you were like, oh, hey, I was going to get in a writing session before this podcast, right? So like
Right.
you are working this and working this hard. So how has that been going from your normal day to day, what you did for 33 years to now like this new normal?
Yeah. Well, man, I don't know. I think more so now I have a lot more, there's a lot of different things going on. So it's like I've got to practice a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, with doing
It's
my
not
own
just
shows,
muscle memory anymore.
well, do it. Say like doing my own shows, they were so few and far between. You know, I might do a run of Jason Carter Band shows at this in February, and then it might be June before I do any more. So I haven't thought about those songs that I've recorded till now, and it's like I got to relearn these things every time, you know. And I just can't remember the words, the arrangements, and all that, and so I have to go back. But anyway, I'm trying to relearn all this stuff. Trying to relearn since we recorded the Michael Cleveland stuff. I sung on a bunch of that, and then the fiddle part, since it's twin fiddles, has got to be the same thing every time. It's not a lot of don't really improvise when you're doing the twin fiddle parts themselves. You know, if we play solos, we'll improvise, but.
For sure. But when you're playing together, you guys have to play those same tunes the same way and the same time.
He kind of has to know what I'm playing before he'll play the harmony, you know.
When was the first time that you were introduced to Michael?
Michael, man, I'm not sure.
Because I mean, he was one of these young prodigies, right?
And he might have been like an early teenager. He was really young.
He was ripping.
Or maybe before then. I remember seeing him up in Kentucky. He came out and just a little guy, you know, and I heard him play, and I was, man, just blown away by this guy. I would see him around a little bit, and then he put out a record, and it was good. And then he put out another record, and I don't remember where we were at, but he gave it to me, and I went home and listened, and I could hear all these influences in him, and he's like, from that time, this record, it was called Sawing on the C String, and that thing, man, he had become a fiddle player. I mean, he just, I don't know what happened, man. He matured, and that he
figured it out.
He really became a fiddle player, man. And now Cleve, I just think he's on another planet compared to most anybody else. He really is.
That's why when the two of you got together, it is like fantasy draft of fiddle players, right? It's like, and now I'm going to put these two together, and they're going to put out an album. And I will tell you, I was talking to John Hartford's daughter, because we're going to do an interview at the Hartford Foundation. And cool. When you released the Vamp in the Middle video, the joy that they heard and what you guys are doing to continue their father's legacy, like just to hear how happy they were, and then like, man, not to mention like what you guys did with that song, because that is like a quintessential fiddle tune, right? Vamp in the Middle is like, if you're picking up a fiddle, that is going to be one of the ones that you're going to learn how to play, right? And then to see the two of you guys play it the way that you did, and it's just so beautiful. It makes me so excited for this album release on Friday to hear the rest of it. So how did you start seeing, okay, and you said, hey, he's a fiddle player. When did you start putting the ideas together of saying, hey, let's do this together?
Well, he used to get up on stage, or I would get up with him. But most of the times he would come up, we'd be at the same show or something, and I'd be like, you know, won't you come play twin fiddles with me? We would do something with Dell, or we would do something with the Travelin McCourys. And of course, the McCourys, they're pretty laid back, you know, so it's like you could ask them what they might want to do, and they go, I don't know. I don't know what we'll do. But yeah, get him to come up, and y'all can play some twin fiddles. And it's like, so we never could work anything out.
There's no like, so hey, let's pick from these songs. Just like, go get it.
We kind of learned, we went to the same school, so to speak, for fiddle playing. You know, we liked the same stuff. And if Dale would do a traditional bluegrass song, Mike kind of knew how I was going to play it, you know, and or if we did something of Dale's, Mike knew all that stuff too. And all I'd have to do is kind of play like what was on the record. And Mike had it down, had a harmony for it, you know.
So you were very complimentary of each other.
Yeah, well, I have to put a lot on. I give him a lot of credit because I was in that job, so I kind of knew the songs. Man, he knew, he had listened to us enough. He knew what I was going to play, even if it was something that he hadn't heard me play. I think he knew what I was going to play, and that could be because he knew too that I listened to Benny Martin and I listened to all the Scotty Stoneman and Kenny Baker and Bobby Hicks and Clemens and he kind of knew which direction he could tell where I was going or what, you know, we were going. He knew what I was going to play. We'd listen, you know, come from the same school, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, and that would be the same if I got up with him or working things out on a new song. If we ever got a chance, like especially on this record, it came together pretty quick.
Wow. So when was the first conversation, and then when did you have the songs picked out, or was there a conversation, or how did that come together?
We started talking about this years ago. I mean, years and years ago, and we were always like, man, we should do a record. You know, we did this stuff on stage and think about how good it could be. If we worked on this stuff, it could be really cool. Which when we'd actually recorded, we didn't have a whole lot of time we didn't like have a band together and rehearse to go in. We called everybody up. We met in the studio, and I was sending him like voice memos of maybe a possibility if this could be how I play this. What do you think about this? Should I change it? And or we didn't have arrangements. But anyway, we started talking about this years ago, and finally about 2000, I don't know. It was a few years ago, 22, 23. I think it was
right around the same time as the solo album.
After I got done with the solo record, I think is when it was.
You were ready for the next trip.
Yeah, I was like, man, if we're ever going to do this, we should get started on it. And I wasn't in a record deal. He had just got out of his record deal, so he wasn't tied to a label. So we were like, yeah, let's do something. And it's like, all right, we could record at Cody's house, Cody Kilby, you know. He's got a little studio, and so I called Cody and Alan Bartram, and we come up with a couple songs to record, and one of them was called "Running Late," and it was a good fiddle tune that this guy Jimmy Campbell wrote. Jimmy passed away several years ago, but he wasn't much older than me. But he used to play in a band called the Sidemen in Nashville, and I'd go down and watch those guys. That was Ronnie McCoury and Rob McCoury and Mike Bubb and Jimmy Campbell.
The Sidemen, that makes way more sense. That is awesome.
So all these guys, they played with some of the members played with Bill Monroe. Jimmy Campbell played with Bill Monroe, played with the Osborne brothers, Jim and Jesse. He played with all the greats. And his son is Casey Campbell, who's a wonderful mandolin player. I don't know if you ever heard Casey, but
I'm going to go Google it once we're done with this, Jason, and I'm sure a lot of listeners will too.
He's playing on Bluegrass in the Backwoods, and that's another one we did that day, and Running Late. So we recorded like 3 songs on that first session at Cody's house, got it started, and then it was like a year and a half later, we decided to get together and finish this record.
So then how was that conversation with Del and the boys of saying, hey, this is what I'm doing?
Oh, about leaving the band?
Yep. Did they know it was coming?
I don't think so. In a way, I think they knew because I couldn't find a time to get with them, and I was trying to find a time where I could get them face to face.
Yep.
Everybody's so busy.
On non-tour dates, everybody's trying to do what you were doing, filling these little holes in pockets.
and some of this stuff, man, I remember I had kind of made up my mind that I was going to leave, and well, not while we were on the road, but I had made my mind up, and I was thinking about talking to everybody because I knew I would have everybody together when we got to the gig, but I was like, I'm not going to throw this on anybody before we have to do a show or after or make the trip.
About that.
Well, if it would be, So anyway, so I had to call. I had to call them, and everybody's running different directions. I was in Charlotte. I actually when I was in Asheville on a session, and before that, I had kind of made up my mind, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to do this. I think it's time. It was the beginning of the year, so it was like 1st of January, and we had like 20 some days off in January. And I thought, I'm going to do this. I want to be doing my own thing.
New year, new you.
Yeah, right. And I thought that if I'm going to, I said, I should tell them now at the beginning of the year what my plans are and just let them know where I'm at and what I'm wanting to do. And we'll go from there. It's like if they want to get somebody else or whatever, they can do that now. And I won't be blindsiding anybody like in the middle of festival season or anything like that. It'll give them plenty of time to find somebody else if they need to, and it'll give me plenty of time to start booking for the second half of the year too. And so I was on doing some recording sessions over in Asheville, and then I went to Chris Henry's house and recorded with him. And I actually talked to Chris a little bit about it. I talked to him and I told him what I was thinking about doing. We're friends, and it just let me vent a little bit about it. So then I drove home, and I was trying to get a hold of Ronnie and Rob, and I couldn't. They were on a show somewhere else, so I couldn't get with them. And then I finally I told Del and Jean I was going to come over to their house, and I wanted to talk to them. And it was not. I knew it was not going to be a fun conversation. I knew it was going to be hard for me. And so anyway, when I went in, I told them, I was like, I said, this is not going to be easy conversation. This is, this is a little weird. At first, Jean, Dell's wife, she mentioned something about, are you going to be a dad? And I was like, oh no, this is not what's happening at all.
Like this isn't a happy,
not a good
this isn't happy conversation about Bronwyn and I.
And so I kind of had to spill the beans, and I told them I was there to put in my notice, and we talked a little bit. Man, by the end of it, I felt like they supported me, and I felt like they understood. And Dell was 50; he was my age when he moved to Nashville. Mm-hmm. So it's like I know that he knows where I'm at. He moved his whole family down here from Pennsylvania to follow a dream, And when he was younger, he worked for Bill Monroe, and he left that to kind of, do his own thing or go with another band or whatever. But he left his musical hero to do something else, So he kind of knew where I was at, and I think it went really. I think it went as good as it could. I don't think that there was no hard feelings or anything. Of course, I don't think there was anything like that. I mean, they're like my family,
And they're not going anywhere. Neither are you.
Right.
But you do have you do have a new album coming out, right? And so
I also think, it's like I might have left the band, but it's not going to be the last time we play music together. And it's not going to be the last time we hang out. And of course, I'm sure if I needed something, I could call them, and if they need me, they can call me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I love those guys, and they're all still like family to me. It wasn't an easy thing, and shoot, man, it's like that was my dream job. So to make the decision to leave it, and it was a good job, man. It was a really good job. Dell's always been like very generous. And took very good care of us and made a good living for us and made a good job for us. And let me tell you, man, playing bluegrass, it's not an easy thing. There's not a lot of good jobs out there. And I probably had the best one,
But you're now chasing another dream, right?
Right.
And this is for you. And so it's exciting. Obviously, we talked.
Is that scary for you?
Man, I tell you what,
because you've performed at this level for 30 plus years, and now you've shifted gears to do something that's more, because now it's you.
Man, I tell you what, I have, how I told you, like it's like whenever whenever I joined Dell, I wasn't doing that because it was a great paying job. Back then it wasn't. We didn't have all that much work, and he was very generous for what he was making at that time. He was still the generous guy that he is now. But man, there was it was like some kind of electricity, man. It was just we all had a fire for playing in that band. And I have that same feeling again for my own career and for my own band and for my own music. And I think sometimes you got to follow that. You got to follow that feeling, at least I hope I'm right in that. Time will tell,
Yeah, but I mean, at least yourself, Jason, you're never going to question what if I had done it, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then torture yourself.
That's the worst thing is to have never even tried. And then you're 40 years from now, you're sitting there thinking like, man, I wonder what I'd be doing right now if I'd started that project. So that's also got to flex your muscles creatively too. So
if I fall on my face, if this falls flat, man, if it doesn't work out, at least I tried.
As huge fans, I find that hard to believe.
And you are like the most humble person, and I think what you're gonna see is just like the Phish crowd or Bonnaroo or even those old men whittling in the field. we are going to pick you up and support you too. So this new album with Michael Cleveland is amazing. I'm super stoked to see what that's going. Will you guys be doing little tours? Because I know you've had onesie twosie stuff. Do you have some other stuff planned for different areas? Are you ever getting out our way towards Colorado, or do Shay and I need to get on a plane to come and see you two burn the stage now?
Man, I don't know if we have any. I don't think we have anything in Colorado yet. I'm trying to get. I'm wanting to come out there with my own band, and I'm of course with Michael as well.
Hey, we don't need Michael. We'll take you, Jason.
Man, it would be great to have. It's always good when the Cleves are around.
Yes, 1,000%.
It's always better. Yeah, it's always good when you got Mike Cleveland in the mix. But yeah, we're going to Savannah, Georgia coming up soon, and we're playing a show in Kentucky and Virginia, and then we're doing like Bourbon and Beyond, and then Picking in the Pine. So things are starting to come in.
That's amazing.
This has all been. It's been just since like February, just whenever we announced that.
Well, and that's what's crazy is because, like you were saying, a lot of these festivals have already had their schedules and lineups, right? And so you can kind of put into Planet Bluegrass and Rocky Grass or Ride and say, hey, if you need something or somebody falls off, we could be there, right?
Yeah, but even if not this year, maybe next year. I don't know.
For sure. Where can people stay? Where can people stay up to date on your tour dates? Is it Jason Carter, the website?
Yeah, it's actually jasoncarterfiddle.com is my website. Yeah.
And then you are on social media. I see you crushing these reels. I don't know if somebody's helping you or what's going on, but you have a good presence. You're putting out solid content. They're great clips of some beautiful songs.
Cool.
And that's on Instagram, right? Is that Jason Carter Fiddle as well?
Jason Carter Fiddle, yeah. And I think that's what it is on TikTok and Facebook, I think.
You're all over the place, man.
I think that's what I should know this. I could look.
That's okay. No looking. We will tag all the accounts when we post this episode, but what I want people to do is wherever you go to listen to your music, if you haven't already pre-saved it, this will be coming out on Friday. Go and check it out. Make sure to go back, listen. If you guys have never heard this man on the fiddle, you are doing yourself a disservice. And I didn't even get the chance to talk to you about sitting in with Billy Strings. So that'll be another conversation for another day, Jason.
Right on.
But I want this to be about you. I want people to understand your story, learn a little bit more about you, and also learn, like Shay and I, like we said, we're like fanboys. Like we could not be happier. And then I'm always so pleasantly surprised to see what great human beings you guys are. And Jason, you are just another one that knocks that notch of being a genuine, real dude. And I can't thank you enough for taking the time to coming on with us.
Man, thanks for having me. I should tell you too quick before we get off here, anybody watching this should go check out the Travelin McCourys as well. And the Del McCoury Band. They'll both be having new music come out. I'm on the new Travelin McCourys record.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know they're cutting a new album.
And it's been in over several years this thing's been working on. But Dell's been actively recording too, and I think they've been in the studio. But they have their new fiddle player. His name is Christian Ward. He's quite a bit younger than I am. But anyway,
he's not that 19-year-old Jason Carter, though, is he?
He's not 19 years old, but he's a man. This guy's a fantastic player. He's just incredible. Get out and watch the Travelin McCourys to anybody watching this, and check out Christian Ward, because he's an amazing player, and they're just going to absolutely eat him up, man. He's incredible. I'm excited, and I'm excited to go see him play with the guy.
That's awesome, and that's even more.
I haven't got to see a Del McCoury band show since I was like 18. So.
From the other side, other side. But you're going to get your butt called up there.
You're going to be standing in the crowd, and you're going to be like, "Yeah, this is like my second show." And everybody's like, "What are you talking about?" Yeah.
That's so awesome. But that also shows what of a great human being you are, and the support and the love for your family that you've created for 33 years, and you're gone and not forgotten. And it's obviously no hard feelings. And so we are very tight knit in this scene, in this genre. We all talk to each other. We all see each other at these shows, and let's just enjoy the music and let's enjoy each other. And so
absolutely,
it's awesome for you, even in your time to shine, for you to shine the light on them as well as him. And it's going to be very special.
Well, they're the best of the best, man. That's all I can say. And honestly, I think with Christian Ward, it'll be bringing a new fire to that music, So
it sure is going to be different, right?
It'll be exciting. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jason. For everybody, we'll catch you next week.
Yeah, man. Take care, guys.
Have a good one.
All right.